Hey guys, it's day 979. We're doing legs and shoulders.
Oh, it's not cold.
Yeah, it's nice.
This is your brain. This stuff's
We're not like -3 or whatever.
Okay, last time.
Oh, my hands! Where did I throw it? Oh,
Yeah, today was sunny. I like it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, honestly, I think for me, like, I really feel like my mood's been boosted up a lot. Like at least this week. And just having sun, coming home to this at least, where it's like, hey, you know what? I can actually. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's had a significant. And to be fair, too, we did book that camping trip. And I booked another one, too. So, like, that might have my spirits up, too, because it's something to look forward to as well. Yeah. But I definitely think the sun is a factor to my mood being better.
Oh, yeah. It is.
One thing I learned that was kind of interesting today, I don't know if you experienced it at all, but supposedly, what's the term again? I forget what the term is, but basically your nose, I didn't know this was an actual like function of your nose. Yeah. Supposedly your nose alternates with like which nostril is your dominant nostril. Like by default, I didn't know that, so it will switch every once in a while. So your one nostril will be better than the other.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, maybe for certain people it's less noticeable if you don't have as big of a deviated septum. But I've noticed that myself. I'm like, why the fuck? If I have a deviated septum, why can I breathe good through this? Like, let's say I breathe through the non-deviated side and it's really good. Yeah. But then all of a sudden my shitty side gets good and my bad side gets, my good side gets bad. You know what I mean? It alters. So I just thought it was interesting. I don't know what it's called. Although I'm gonna look it up. But it's I didn't know that's just a function of the nose. I guess it alternates dominant nostrils just every like 2 hours. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I heard the exact reasoning for it. I think it's something to do with lubricating it.
Oh yeah.
Because like, I don't know. Because like, it doesn't make me get hyper congested, but I think it's a way to keep the nose like wet, and so it like, you know, one like really good nostril and then one that's kind of blocked up and shitty, and then it alternates. I thought it was interesting. I don't know. I never knew that.
That's good to me. Human body doesn't.
Oh yeah, man, it is cool. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I'm gonna be lazy. This is close enough to my weight. Put it down in there. I don't want to warm up again. I'm lazy. Oh, it's called nasal cycle. That's what it's called. never eat super noodles, but yeah, I guess it's something to do with making sure one nostril's moist. I don't know, it's weird, but oh, 2 plates. Sorry to move it. Yeah. That's one a little bit lower?
Yeah, a little lower too.
I guess good.
That's not a 5.
Okay. I don't know. Have you heard about the Mr. Beast video where he fixes 1,000 people's eyesight? I know there's a bunch of controversy about it.
I don't know why people are mad about
It's
it.
so dumb.
Like, he's helping a bunch of people.
Like, I can kind of see. I don't know. It's a little weird. I don't really understand it.
Like, I saw the one guy, Hassan. He was like, oh, this is such bullshit.
Really? He actually said that?
He's like, oh, it takes this YouTuber to, like, take away the paywall to get the surgery. And it's like, bro, what do you complain about?
Well, well, realistically, I'm curious because I think this is a fair point. If they're more mad, they're not mad about the video itself. Maybe they're more mad about, not know about what Mr. Beast has done, but they're kind of mad that this is a means for people who have terrible eyesight to be able to finally see. Maybe they're more under the impression it should be a necessity, like, and covered by the government of some sorts, because eyesight is such a critical component for people to live a decent life. Like, what do you think about that? I think that's a fair point.
That's a fair point.
But I don't know how they portrayed it. But a lot of people are saying,
I heard people were saying, like, oh, like, he only did this just to, like, monetize the video.
And the thing that's kind of silly about that too is, like, he's monetizing the video, because I could be wrong, I don't know much about, like, Mr. Beast's financial situation, but I have the impression he keeps investing more and more in the channel.
That's what he does.
So it's inevitably going to help more people by doing this.
Yeah.
So I think that argument sucks. But, like, I think the argument not against Mr. Beast, but the kind of sad reality, this is the only means for 1,000 people to be able to see, is to get this very expensive. That is sad, you know? I think that's kind of bullshit. I don't think there's anything against Mr. Beast there.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people are, like, making him, like, look bad about it.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just feel like they're, like, maybe jealous of him.
Maybe that too.
It's like, man, he helped 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's not like just in America, he went around the world too, helping people. Like,
Yeah.
third world countries and shit. Like,
Well, how do you feel about this? Okay, because there's this term that's going on, not going on, but it's out. It's called poverty tourism. I've never heard of it before. But basically what it is, it's like when somebody goes and basically to people that are in need and kind of displays them kind of for personal gain in a way. Like, for example, this one YouTuber got a lot of shit for doing it, and like for what it's worth, I kind of agree, it's kind of shitty. What he did is he went to Africa or whatever, and he just went around recording like, man, look at these poor people. Like, not in a condescending way, but they go, we should do something about this. I feel like that's a little like, come on. That's a little weird, and I think that's a little attention grabbing, you know? You're just trying to benefit off of them. So like, some people were saying that's what Mr. Beast is doing, but I don't think it was. You know what I mean? It's not the same. You know what I mean? He's like genuinely helping them.
Because, like, you can make that argument about the people that, you know, the students that go to Africa
Yeah.
and go on these missions to, like, volunteer.
Yeah.
And they take pictures of kids after
Yeah.
they volunteer. So it's like, you can say that to, like, have that argument about that as well.
I guess so, but at least they're like genuinely helping, like, you know. But no,
Yeah, it's like, you're helping, but then, like, you get the pictures at the end, you post it, you're like, oh, this is what I did.
like if you went around, yeah, I guess so.
It's like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, helping somebody out and, like, sharing the experience, I guess. Like,
I agree. I think it's kind of like funny how people are giving him shit for it, because like, do I think there was some financial incentive by him or do goblets?
oh, it's all good. We can do that one.
Well, I'd rather do one of two goblets instead.
Oh, you want to do golf?
Yeah. Just because, like, I don't know. It kind of fucks my foot up.
Yeah. I just feel like there's a bunch of haters.
No,
That are like hating on him.
that's one thing I know. I think we live in a world where people will just find any reason to complain. You know what I mean?
literally. Because it's like, you can say that about a whole bunch of things.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
medical field, like,
Exactly.
medicine for people with diabetes, it's like so overpriced, you know, it costs a couple pennies to make.
Yeah.
It's like, you can make the argument about anything.
It's like, oh yeah, these
It's like,
doctors.
this guy made a video, and it's like, he also gave him like $10,000 cash.
Yeah.
Gave a kid a Tesla. It's like,
Yeah, man. No,
it's not like he's like Steve will do it, goes around kicking doors and
No,
shit.
yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
no.
If he was just like going around being, he's blind people. It's just crazy.
Yeah, like making fun of them.
Yeah, or something like that, or you know, or just putting them on display. It's not there. He's actually genuinely helping them. So
Yeah.
I'm under the impression I haven't looked into like a ton for good arguments, but I haven't found any decent arguments yet. Outside of it's not really an argument, but it is a sad reality. This is the only means for some of these people.
Yeah, it's like it costs money. Yeah.
Yeah. Like basically, in order to be able to see, they needed a random YouTuber to pay for it. Like that's kind of fucked up.
It's pretty crazy the technology of it. Like they were like showing how it works and stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, man, it was cool. I think I saw that. Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like I know it's hard to do, but in an ideal world, that should be a surgery that's covered. I feel personally, because it's like how detrimental it is to your life when you can't fucking see. You know what I mean? People be like, stop being fucking lazy, make money, but you're like, oh,
dude, I can't see
look shit, man.
That's fucking hard.
Yeah, man.
I'm one guy that just wants to work as a cashier. And he can't.
Yeah, I can't fucking see, dude. It's not like they're being lazy. It's like if there was something different. Let's say like, okay, this might be whatever. It's a hot take maybe, but let's say there was something along the lines of like, I don't know, free liposuction. Like that's like I don't necessarily know if I feel as good about that. Like sure, for morbidly obese people where there's like almost nothing you can do and it's too far gone, sure. But like, should everybody that has a little bit of fat in their body be able to suck it out? No, you can be able to remedy it in some capacity. But this, it's like there's nothing you can fucking do.
And it's not like they ate themselves to
no.
get the color blindness.
Yeah, exactly. Or even for example too, like let's say I'm not trying to say because I used to be like a cigarette smoker too. But let's say like. I know they probably do provide some facilities, but like, would I feel better about giving it to the blind people than people who smoke? I know it sounds shitty, but probably, right? Yeah. Because you kind of chose to put yourself in that position. You don't choose to fucking go blind, right?
Yeah.
So. I don't know, I'm not saying we should just let smokers die or anything like that, but I'm just saying like, regardless, I think there should be treatment for both, but I just say like, I guess ultimately, I feel like, man, like why the fuck is the government or something, like why is this not a free thing for people to access? Yeah. Or more accessible at least, right? Because if you can't fucking see, bro, what can you fucking do? Yeah. You can't even watch Sarkis fitness videos. You know what I mean? So like, they're missing out on something great, but yeah, man.
We can try being explosive with this one.
Yeah, that's what we can kind of end up for like what you do is something you can.
Oh, yeah, be explosive with it for 9.
Yeah, okay. No, yeah, I definitely think I kind of like that too. Because I feel like it's just a different movement than that.
Yeah. I was thinking doing these explosive, but after I finished, I don't want to do these anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't know if I really want to do squats explosive. Because I feel like it's just a little bit more dangerous. I know you go lighter, but still.
Yeah.
Like if I want to like go up and then lose balance and like, oh, like he gets there. No man, like I saw that Mr. Beast video. Like, oh, this is such a good thing. Yeah. The other day I saw like these YouTubers talking about the controversy about it. I'm like, what the fuck? What
are you mad about?
At first I was like trying to get a grasp before I watched the video. Like, why would somebody be mad? And it was hard to think of something. Like, this is a really shit take. But I was thinking like, well, it's the blind community kind of sad that like, you know, people's eyesight are getting repaired. Because, you know, like, nothing against blind people, but I think in a way they kind of are like a community. Like, they kind of embrace the blindness. So I kind of thought that, but like, well, that's not the best explanation. But then I kind of tried to look further and further. And I guess the only thing that makes sense why it would have upset people is just because this is only means for people to get the surgery. Yeah. But still, like, I don't know, all these other people think this is demonic and stuff like that. Like, what the fuck? It's like, can you please explain that? I don't really understand. Maybe it's just way above my head and I'm not, I don't know.
I think people just love complaining about stuff that me complain about.
Oh. The thumbnail's a little creepy though, to be honest.
What?
The thumbnail's a video?
Oh,
it's like some kid. I know he's just getting his eyesight, but he's like got these tears and Mr. Beast is behind him like, it's like, man, I'm not trying to say anything happened, but it's like, if somebody looked at it and there's no caption, it can be interpreted a lot of different ways, you know what I mean?
Kids crying.
Like this kid's crying and Mr. Beast is smiling behind him. It's like, hey man, like I get it. It's like I would have probably picked a different thumbnail, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can make that argument.
Nothing wrong with it, but it is a little fucking weird. It's like you had a crying kid while you're smiling on your fucking thumbnail.
He's crying.
He's not really crying, he's got tears.
Yeah.
And Mr. Beast is like, I love making kids cry. No.
But yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
how quick it was? Like 8 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Helped 1,000 people.
Great. Wonder how much it costs.
Yeah.
I'd imagine the surgery is probably gonna be a few grand, right?
I think so. But it is crazy how it's like that one YouTuber did all that,
Yeah.
and he's just making money from YouTube.
Yeah.
What about all the politicians that steal money?
Yeah.
They don't
What
do
about-
anything.
Little fucking like Logan Paul or people who are genuinely trying to rob you. You know?
Oh yeah, that too, right? Crazy.
It's like of all content creators to rag on.
Yeah, you pick that guy, the nicest guy.
Yeah, like the guy who probably has no track record of being a dick, seems genuine.
Also, after that video, I saw like this one like video on the side for related. He was talking about his like ex-girlfriend. I guess like he heard her on a call saying that she's just using him for the money, and then he dumped her.
I heard about that.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
That's honestly, I think that's one of the saddest things is like, no offense to Mr. Beast, pretty average looking guy.
Yeah.
So like, I guess what I'm trying to say, if I was in his position and really, really beautiful girls were coming up to me,
Yeah, you can't really.
you know what I mean?
It's like you probably have to beat a girl that doesn't know who you are.
Exactly. Like if you're like a gigamonger and you're rich, whatever, but like it comes to question, it's like, why am I getting this new attention now? Is it because I'm rich? Yes.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like any average guy like me or Mr. Beast, whatever, if Mr. Beast walks down the street before he got famous, or let's say he wasn't famous, he did it right now, nobody would talk to him.
Yeah.
Nobody would be like try to engage with him. If you went on Tinder, you get no matches. Now, you know what Tinder? Probably match every other, probably every fucking person. Like,
I swipe on.
exactly. Like, like, I don't know. It's sad. To, like, I guess no. Another thing, like, I'm happy he's being successful and stuff like that. But he just kind of sucks. It's like a kind of double-edged sword in a way, where like you get all this money, you get this attention, but some of the attention's not going to be genuinely caring about who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like people that want to be your friend just kind of want your money.
Yeah, like honestly, bro, that's why if I won the lottery, I probably wouldn't fucking. I try not to fuck fucking anybody. I'd just be in my room still, fucking eating fucking peanut butter and stuff. I just wouldn't go to work.
I don't need to work.
So
So we can earn more. So we can earn more. So we can earn more.
that looks like explosiveness made it hard.
Yeah, made it harder, right?
So I can do more.
Even more coke? What do you want for this?
25 more?
Yay, we have to bend over anymore. Yay! How much clothes?
Leg day, the worst day ever.
I know. It really does suck.
Longer. So I can earn more. So I can do more.
One thing that is interesting to me though about that what we were talking about before, I always really have noticed that like older people who are born like when there probably was better like or like different kinds of lifestyles and stuff like that. Like they're always these guys that got like fucking normally developed jaws, or even like my grandpa, bro, like he's got like good cheekbones, a good jaw because he grew up on a farm in Italy, right? But even, dude, his fucking fingers.
I was gonna say that. They always have bigger hands, dude.
It's crazy. They're like sausages.
It's like my dad's hands.
Yeah, exactly. You just kind of think you're like, fuck, man.
How's
Like,
mine gonna grow like that?
yeah, exactly. It's just so different. And at least my grandpa too, and I'm sure your dad too. Like decent frames. They got like good muscle mass naturally. Like my grandpa, he didn't work out, but he was fucking like, I don't know, probably 6'1", 6'2", $190. That's like 200 pounds. He wasn't even like super fat. It's like, how do you do that?
That's natural.
Yeah. just different. No, I think I've said this before. But bro, I swear to God, in my house, there's this picture of like my grandpa and my great grandpa. I never met him because he died, whatever. But then when they're farm, and they all have like fucking wide faces, good cheekbones. Like I look at my aunt, like my great aunt, I never saw a picture of her. I see her, it's like, oh, she could be a fucking model. It's just like, it's crazy how the whole side, they all fucking look like that. You know what I mean? And as generations have gone by, and it's interesting too, because my dad, for example, his family grew up in Canada, right? So like I can imagine it was more so, you know, not farming as much and stuff like that. And it's just in contrast how both generations, like they're the same, but like my grandparents, the side that grew up in Italy, they look so much different than my dad's side that grew up in Canada. Like I know that's genetics and stuff too, but just overall, it's just like the face structure, everything's so different. It's kind of crazy. It is. I think one thing that's crazy too is hearing about my grandpa saying like they started working when they're like 12 and stuff like that, or 11, and they're like tasseling and taking tobacco leaves and shit for like 12 hours a day when they're like 13. It's like holy shit.
Yeah, right. It's completely different now.
Oh, exactly.
Now it's all girls that are playing video games.
Yeah.
And then like he's doing hard labor as well. It's nuts.
One thing I'm curious about, what like the optimal amount of like energy a body should exert in a day, you know what I mean? Like where it's a healthy amount, but it's not overdoing it. Because I'm under the impression, were we meant to be in fucking like fields for like 14, 15 hours a day? Probably not, right? But I'm curious, like how much we were actually supposed to be moving around and migrating and
but then again,
resting.
Like, the majority of our evolution is like whatever, outside.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's interesting too though, because like, if you look at gorillas and chimpanzees and stuff like that, they fucking rest a lot. You know what I mean? They'll go around, they'll fuck around, have a good time, go hunting and shit, and they'll be straight chilling for like, I'll have to look into it. I was watching some documentary about it. I guess gorillas, they're fucking like, just chilling a lot. They're just fucking chilling.
It's fucking crazy though. They just eat berries and like, what else? Like insects?
Yeah. I think they do eat meat sometimes.
Do they? Yeah.
Like, I think, because I was watching these monkeys, they like primarily eat that, but then when there's an opportunity to get meat, they go for it.
Oh yeah?
Because I guess it's higher protein, higher calories.
It's just nuts, like how much muscle it has, like the density of it.
One thing that's nuts to me too though is like, I didn't know this, gorillas have like a crazy bite force.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like way higher than you think. You know, you put some things on top of it, it's like no, the gorillas fucking bite you, they'll fucking destroy you.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
I forget, like I don't know if it was like a top 10 list. It was like higher than lion, higher than like, I forgot, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure a gorilla's bite's like 8 times stronger than a lion's or some shit. I'm about to look it up. There's some sort of term. I don't know what it's called, but like there's a scale to measure it. I forget what the first one was. I think it might have been an alligator. No, maybe not an alligator. I don't know.
Okay, so grizzly bear, polar bear, gorilla is more than a bear.
Yeah, dude.
Wow, because a bear's like 1100 psi.
Yeah, it'll fuck you up.
1300 psi. Holy shit.
Well, like what's right underneath? Yeah, see like a bullshit, like a shark. It's like literally like it got bested by a shark. It's like, oh okay, you know, like
that's what bottom is.
Yeah, hippos. They're fucking. Dude, I don't know about you. I think I'd rather fight like a chimpanzee or like a gorilla. Maybe not a gorilla. I wouldn't want. Long story short, I wouldn't want to fight a fucking hippo. Hippos will fuck you up, dude.
And alligators number 3, crocodile number 2. Number 1's a crocodile.
Okay, but still, the gorilla's quite up there, man.
Yeah.
I would really think it'd be like literally like how much psi was it different than the shark? Was it a lot?
Oh, the gorilla's 1300, the shark 1350.
That's crazy. It's almost as much for psi. Yeah. That's crazy.
The Nile crocodile is 5,000 psi.
Dude, that would fuck you up, dude. That would crank you.
So scary. The average human is 162.
Yeah, man. Imagine a crocodile biting you and like death rolling you.
Oh yeah. It's over. That's crazy. Damn. generating thousands of PSI.
Yeah, that's insane.
Fuck you up. That's so nuts.
That I love you. Was it
One thing I'm curious about, is just a little bit of a tangent. What percentage of the population works out? I wonder.
Oh, yeah.
What would you guess?
Probably going lower every year.
You think like 15 or 20% is fair, or would it be less than that? Or more? I don't know.
Maybe 30.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it's more than I think.
It's a sanctuary. It's no place to be.
This is so crazy seeing those old videos of like high school gym
Oh, I know.
classes. Everyone's fucking like fit and shredded. There's like
23.
23%?
In US. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like those old videos from like high school gym classes where the whole class is like shredded and fit.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, there's like no one that's overweight.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just dietary differences.
It's like, yeah, like, kids even have gym class anymore.
That's one thing, I don't know, one thing that's interesting to me, do you think track and field should be mandatory?
I think gym should be
I
mandatory.
think gym should, but do you think track and field should? Because I feel like that's more competing, you know what I mean?
I guess, well, like, I think like overall sprinting's good for you.
Yeah. I guess ultimately though, the thing I'm curious about is like, cause I was just thinking about the other day, like, cause like I was hearing about like other people's experiences in my family, like my mom, for example, or and how they hated, I don't know, with Sinner too back in the day, but like how they hated track and field day. And I'm like, I never really related to that, cause I didn't mind it, I like going, cause like I didn't do super well, but I did okay. But I'm just curious how many people out there kind of hate it, you know what I mean? Like, do you think they should be forced to do it? 'Cause I think for phys ed, I think should be mandatory.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But when you're putting people kind of like in a situation where they have to compete and stuff, I think competing's not bad. I think competition can be healthy in some ways. But I guess ultimately, because I don't know if you've heard, this, I don't know how to feel about it. I'm 50-50. I guess they don't really require you to do speeches anymore in school.
Do what?
You know how, well, when we were kids, we did like mandatory speeches and stuff like that. I guess kids don't have to do them anymore. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Probably bad.
I think it's bad in some regard, but like in another hand, like what if you're just like a personality type that just doesn't really vibe with it? Because I don't know about you, man, but for me, like I really suck at it, and I don't want to get better at it too.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those arguments too. If it's not necessarily critical, like it can be beneficial. I definitely think it is. But it's one of those things too. Like if you think about it in school, like why the fuck did me, at least specifically, why did I have to learn about parabolas? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I never used it. I'll never use it in my life.
Yeah.
Like I think there's some good fundamental things, but then there's some skills. I
basics.
wonder if it's essential. Like is public speaking an essential skill? I don't
I think it's
necessarily
more
know.
essential than the parabolic.
Oh, I would agree with you. I 100% agree. I think it's got more value. That's why I'm on the fence. I think I would be more inclined. I think it's good to exercise that and get better at it, even if it's anxiety-inducing and it's not great. But at the same hand too, I could see somebody living a fine life without having great public speaking.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting because like then you kind of wonder like, in a sense, do you put everybody in the same boat, even though some kids might experience immense pressure, embarrassment, anxiety.
Yeah. It's like that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, speeching and like running, I feel like those are like so like
That's fair.
fundamental stuff for humans, right?
Okay.
Because like that's how we communicate,
Yeah.
and like running, it's like everybody should be able to run.
Yeah. Oh, I'd agree with you. Like, I guess for me, I don't really know which way I lean. I think I'm leaning more towards having it in some capacity, because I definitely think it's a good skill to have and to develop.
Yeah.
But the same thing, if a kid's gonna fucking puke every time he public speaks and you just never do it, it's like, I know you can get better at it, but like at what point do you kind of be like, hey, you know what? You kind of concede that this person might just never really benefit from doing this. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, like, I know for me, I really had anxiety for public speaking, like the presentations and shit. But then I remember, like, I got to a point where I was like, oh, this is actually not as hard as I, thought it would be.
I can see
it's all
that.
in your head when you think like, oh, this could happen, that could happen.
Well, I agree.
I feel like if we like make exceptions, then it's like, you know, next year,
No, I totally agree.
what's the next exception, right? It's like, oh,
I think for me, in a way, I definitely think there should be some structure for education,
Yeah.
but I really do feel like letting kids do things their way isn't necessarily as bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For that in particular, I don't know how to feel about it, but I definitely do like freedom of expression in a way where you can be like, hey, I don't know about you, I always really like those really open-ended projects. You know, like, hey, like for example, I remember in grade 10, for my history class, we did our English class, I forget, we read The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, but basically the teacher was like, you can do whatever you want for a project. I'm like, that's kind of cool, I kind of like that, you know what I mean? So I guess in a way that's interesting because it's exercising strengths.
yeah, and like being creative.
Yeah.
And like,
Exactly. So then it's one of those things too where if you get to a point where, like, you know, in a way we kind of allow kids to have some subjects be elective at some point. You know, you get your basic fundamentals in elementary school, but then in post-secondary it's like you don't have to take this many maths.
Yeah.
I kind of like that approach more.
It's
But then at some sense, you don't want to give too much freedom and leeway because then people could deprive developing certain skills that might be a little bit more critical.
I'll take the easy stuff.
Yeah, exactly, right? I get that, I get that.
Yeah.
So in regard to the speech thing, I would think it'd be good to exercise it, but in some circumstances, do I feel like it might be a skill that, like, for some people, if you're just an extreme extrovert and you're never gonna come out of your shell, and you're gonna be like, let's say, I don't know, just coding remotely and you don't really have to do public presentations.
Yeah.
I don't really know how good it is. Like, I know, I definitely think in an ideal world, everybody should be good public speakers. But, like, I guess I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know, it's weird. I guess ultimately, I'm on the fence. I don't really know. I'm more leaning towards it'd be good to put them in that situation so they can learn whether they like it or not,
Yeah,
too.
try it.
I think for me, too, if you never try, like, what if it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm always so scared to try, I never want to do it, and then you never know. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Because at least the thing that's good about trying is you learn. You learn, hey, this is for me, or if it isn't for me, or hey, it's not for me now, but I can improve on it. You know what I mean?
It's a learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. One thing that's kind of interesting is that at work today, it came up in conversation. I guess in like schools now, well, obviously this has been going on in other places, but I guess it's going on in Kingsville right now.
Yeah.
Where kids are recording each other fighting and putting it on TikTok and stuff like that.
Probably. I can see that happening.
The thing that's weird about it for me, I'm really curious if it's happening more frequently than it did before, if it's just recorded now, you know what I mean? Probably maybe a combination of both, because I guess realistically, if you have an audience, you might be more incentivized to get in more fights. And I guess what they're saying too, it's not even just like they're recording a fight, it's like 6 fights for TikTok. Like people are going on and say, hey, you want to fight for this TikTok, fight this random person.
What the hell?
Yeah, man. Not random person, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like this classmate you go beef with. It's like, sure. So I don't know. Like, I can see in some regard it being worse since there's been thing, but then ultimately too, like a lot of the people think the world's getting worse, but sometimes part of me kind of wonders, sure in some capacity, but ultimately too, I wonder if shitty things happened before, but it just wasn't as well documented. It didn't have a finite source.
Things are definitely better now in a lot of regards.
Oh, I agree. Worse in some, better in some. But ultimately, too, when people say, like, oh, you know, I can't believe kids these days with drugs and stuff like that, it's like, man, I don't think it's any worse. I really do feel like, I don't know, I feel like, or like, let's say kids partying or this and that. It's like, no, you motherfuckers party too.
Yeah,
You know you lie.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I can't believe this drunk kid did this at this party got recorded. It's like, well, yeah, you did the same shit. They just didn't have a camera to fucking record you. So I guess ultimately, the thesis of this whole statement is I think kids have always been fucking dumb, but now it's just easier to see it, right? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I definitely do think in some regards we have gone better in some areas.
still mass murder, but not on that scale. Yeah, people like Stalin just like executing people.
Yeah, man. Seriously, bro?
Mass grave.
It wasn't even really that long ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Or even if you watch like videos of people of World War I and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're not that disconnected from them, you know what I mean? Like you look at videos of them, remastered videos, and they're just shooting the shit, hanging out, like obviously they didn't have cell phones and shit.
Yeah.
But it's like it wasn't really that long ago, right?
And it's pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Like the trench warfare.
Yeah, oh yeah, trench warfare. I think it's crazy too, because like when we were talking about the other time I watched that movie, but like when there's tanks and there's nothing you can fucking do at it other than you just send a bunch of fucking people at it and try to get a grenade in the fucking like in a wheel or try to get in a pump or something.
Like being like ripped apart by bullets.
Yeah, you're just running to your death. Or I saw like they would fucking have flamethrowers that put them in the trenches and stuff like that. Like, oh my god. Like, these are human beings. That's crazy.
I think they banned the shotgun for like war use, or like a certain type of shotgun. I think it was like a trench. I think it was called trench gun or whatever.
What is it?
It was just like blowing people in half.
Oh really?
It's just like in the trench warfare to get shot with a shotgun.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
That's something that's so crazy to me is like, how are there conditions in the war? You know what I mean? I know it sounds bad.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
But it's like
It's like you can't. Yeah, there's like certain things, right? You can't use like poisonous gas, even though some people still do it. It's like a war.
yeah.
Right? Who's good at telling you?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you guys are fucking trying to kill each other. It's like, just I guess.
It is pretty crazy.
I think it's good in a way to have some sort of like, you know, gentlemen's agreements like, hey, listen, we're not the assholes. But it just, the concept of it's so weird. It's like, you're trying to kill each other, but you're trying to kill each other within a rule set. Like, that's kind of fucking weird.
Yeah. It is pretty interesting how like in what was it, like 1800s, 1700s or 1800s, how they have like the men line up, but you have to take turns like shooting at each other.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's pretty wild.
That's fucking nuts.
I know. You've come a long way.
One thing that is kind of cool though, it is kind of cool to see some sort of compassion. You know, like big ceasefires during Christmas and stuff like that. Because yeah, if you're a fucking asshole, you'd be like, oh, motherfuckers eating Christmas dinner, I'm gonna fucking kill them. Right? So it is kind of cool. People have the decency to be like, you know what? Let's not be assholes. Right? But then also they're putting like bombs on dogs and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, right.
that's crazy, man.
Doggy.
Come here, doggy. Man, it's probably not the most realistic movie, but the other day I watched the sequel to 300.
What is it?
You know the movie 300?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the sequel where they're on the boats and shit?
No.
I don't know how realistic it is, but like, it would be cool if some of this stuff was actually real. I don't know. Like they would like, they had this big ship that would like pour oil in the water, and then they would have people with like fucking oil, like big oil pouches tied on their back, and they'd climb on your ship, and then they would fucking like, I guess other sorts would shoot fire arrows at like their own people or in the water to light shit on fire. I don't know if it's true, but if it is true, that's fucking crazy. Imagine being like, you just got a big fucking thing of oil in your back, you're climbing up this thing, you're like, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah, man.
That's one thing I can respect though. Like I know it's kind of sad that war and stuff, but some of these people, they're just so willing to sacrifice their life for their country. You know what I mean? It's just kind of sad in a way. But it's like
forced to though.
yeah. Well, that's the thing that's nuts too. Is like they have the Persian ships. I'm not okay for what it's worth. I'm not just saying Persians have slaves, but they had these Persians. They had slaves on the ships. Imagine you're rowing a ship to the fucking battle, and you're a slave. You're getting whipped. You're like, I'm probably gonna fucking die.
Yeah, right.
I didn't even choose this. That's crazy.
That's pretty sad.
You get captured, and then you just become a fucking basically a vehicle to move warriors. Like, they don't give a fuck if you die. It's like fuck you, you're a goddamn slave. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I guess life has gone a little better.
I could agree. Yeah,
To a degree, it's a little better.
that is good.
I feel like now we just switched to like slavery when you don't know you're a slave.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Right? I think that's something that's scary too in a way.
It is interesting.
Yeah. How like I feel like more than ever he has been more influential. Like it always has been influential. Like I really do feel like, you know, some people are saying like we're more brainwashed now. I can agree, but I feel like in some capacity we've always been brainwashed through like
it's like
religion,
newspapers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right? So I guess it's more widespread. Like it's easier, it's more accessible and more personable. At least.
It's just like, well, actually, when you had newspapers and radios, that's all you had. You had nothing else.
Exactly.
So, but then again, it's like the digital age. You can like reach more people at the same time. So you can like brainwash easier. Yeah. But then I guess people can like do their own research easier.
Yeah, I guess in a way too. It's either way, but yeah, I think it's a little bit more. I think it's less subtle now. That's what's scary to me. You think they're trying to get better at hiding it, but when people are starting to notice that these ads are like fucking popping up after they talk about something,
right?
Or you know, you're seeing YouTube videos with like 3 different things going on to overstimulate your brain. I think that they're not even being subtle about it anymore. They don't give a fuck. They're like, you know what? You're gonna keep watching it. You're addicted to it. So.
Yes, I got my.
I think one thing that's wild is if you really sit down and think about it, like, imagine generations that didn't have the internet, and if you didn't really read books, how do you know shit? How do you learn about shit? Like, I know it's not, like, groundbreaking things, but it's kind of cool how I can, like, research whatever I want, you know what I mean? Whenever I want. And like, I learned these random facts of the day, like about the gorillas fucking bite and stuff. Whereas, like, I could imagine back in the day, like, how would you even like learn shit? Or what would you, like, I knew you had to read books and stuff, but I'm under the impression, I don't think everybody read books back then, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
If you're style, like, whoever's in charge tells you, like, oh, this is what happened.
So in a way, it is really interesting you brought that point up that we can become more well-educated ourselves. Because before, I'd argue, in some capacity, both sides are more easily controllable.
Yeah.
You're more controllable now because it's easier to gain the content, whereas before, you had less content to come from.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier to make it more concentrated. You know what I mean? Like this is the only source I get is my local newspaper. Like, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, I never really thought of it like that. That's a good point. One more. Good push.
All right, guys. 979. See you.